Welcome back, everybody, to DNA Crows. Today I'm joined by Toy Bounty Hunters. Please introduce yourself, John.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? John from Toy Bounty Hunters. We've done this before, of course. Been on the channel here with Crow before, talking about stuff, giving my 2 cents on what I think about it, and yeah, I guess we're gonna be doing it here again today. If you guys want to check out my channel, of course, Toy Bounty Hunters. Same on Twitter at Toy Bounty Hunter. They wouldn't let me put the S in; it wasn't, won't fit. But it's pretty much Toy Bounty Hunters on all other social media that I do have. So if anybody wants to check out my content, please feel free. Do a little bit of everything there. Or I try to, anyways.
Thank you, John. Actually, and honestly, that's really why I wanted you here, because you definitely don't just focus on the Vic Mignogna stuff. You've always given me more reasonable, even-handed takes on the things that are going on. So in light of everything that happened on Friday, because I was definitely on the hype machine, so I figure I need more grounded perspective for everything, too. Even though the events of the weekend have I'm definitely still on board. It's just I've shifted how laser. I was like, oh, man, this is so going to happen. And then, life comes at you pretty fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've just been playing catch up with it recently myself, and I understand people's frustrations with what happened Friday. I know a lot of people. It was a lot of doom and gloom. A lot of people were not happy. Some people have kind of been a little bit. They've been open. I shouldn't say a little bit. There's been a lot of open criticisms on both sides regarding the results Friday of the hearing, but. As I think it was Yogi Bear, the baseball player, once said, "It ain't over till it's over." So I would tell people, don't get your hopes up yet. I mean, I'm a person, again, I've been following it when I can, and of course, as I've said from the beginning multiple times, I've told people, the people that have asked me, oh, do you stand with Vic or not? And I've always said, look, I stand with the truth, no matter what the truth is. And if that makes me I stand, then I guess that's what it is. I mean, if that's what people want to label me. And the truth of the matter is I'm for due process more than anything else. And I have yet to see anything that has come to light that speaks to the guilt of anything Vic has done. But here's another key thing for people to remember. This is not a criminal trial. It's not about whether it speaks to his guilt or innocence of these accusations that have been levied against them. This is a civil trial. You know what I mean? This is about how these accusations have affected his ability to pretty much make his living. So for people out there that are making it seem like this is some kind of, and I've seen this a lot with I think the Kick Vic side, like this is going to be some kind of indictment on him if he loses the case. It really isn't. You know what I mean? Because again, it's not like if Vic loses, he's going to go to jail. That's not going to happen. If anything,
and it's like if everyone's been saying from the very start throughout this entire thing, nobody has gone to the police and pressed charges against Vic for any action, in spite of everything that's gone on, in spite of this having been going on for years and there being so many stories of all of this behavior. Not a single person's actually gone to the police to report any crime. I think that's I think that's the most telling thing about it. But it's the case at the end of the day was, did the defendants do the things that they are being accused of, and then did they cause damage? When you go into the tortious interference claim that was made, the judge seems to believe that did occur, but then also says that, well, what are the damages? Oh, you can't say them. Okay, well, that's gone. Stuff like that, I don't know much about the whole legal process. It seems a little bit off to me, but it does seem like the judge said, yeah, you did these things, but he can't prove the damages, so no harm, no foul. I was kind of like, well, I mean, I robbed the guy, but like 2 days later, somebody robbed it from me and brought it back to him, so we're good, right?
That is definitely seems that way too. What's interesting, though, is that they did say that looks like, at least for now, and again, because it's something that could end up being dismissed too, but you know, the defamation seems to be sticking for the time being,
Yeah.
which that's a good thing. And I think that that's also another one that's pretty obvious that's been happening. I can tell you right now, and I don't think this is a secret at this point. Of course, I was affiliated with a company that had a convention that he was going to be appearing at, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that once that news hit the mainstream, you know, these accusations against him, I can tell you 100%, you know, that influenced the decision to cancel his appearance. Absolutely. You know, I could say that unequivocally from firsthand knowledge.
Yeah.
That was something that you know, that affected the decision to keep, you know, to, you know, no longer have him as a guest at the show, which again I understand from a business perspective as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out with the defamation. If that's, hopefully that's not something else that gets thrown out. Looks like that's going to be the strongest point, at least in the eyes of the judge so far.
Yeah,
because he didn't strike, you know, he didn't dismiss that. So
some of the things the judge said were pretty clear too. Well, if you say these things, then wouldn't they be defamatory? And I think at one point, I can't remember, it was Olney or Lemoyne, it said something like, well, my client didn't specifically say that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the defamation, as was said on Nick's stream, is the highest damage claim. Potential for Funimation, which would be the biggest defendant there. Yeah. But it still exists for both Monica and Ron Toy, and you still have the fact that there is going to be an appeal process. Again, not dragging the judge, but he's been appealed before, and I assume many judges are appealed before. The thing about the legal system is, as much as anybody wants to claim to be an expert and know everything, I think that the only thing that this has shown me is that everybody was wrong. Everybody was wrong about something.
Yeah.
And the judge just kind of just showed up like a cannonball and just wrecked everything.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And the judge could be overturned. It's definitely happened before, and there's a reason why that exists. So it's not open. It's not over. There's a total future, and kind of like moving forward with it. Just worst case scenario, best case scenario, because I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, best case scenario, it gets overturned on appeal. Marcia gets brought back in, and we're back where we thought we were. It doesn't get over the TCPA, and we start the actual case. Meaning discovery is actually in place. We actually know what's going on, right? It moves forward. Everything's good. I'd say middle scenario would be just the defamation claim sticks, right? In which case, the case moves forward, you go into discovery, and then more will come out. But the absolute worst case scenario is everything gets dismissed. Vic Mignogna is still innocent. Nobody is going to the police for these crimes that they are saying he did 100%, but nobody wants to go to the cops. And you still have everything that came out against Funimation. The Funimation leaks, the Chris Sabat audio. I think, and I really don't want to say his name wrong. I think it's Yuki Matsuzaki. I'm so sorry. But he made it very clear. He contacted Toei in order to let them know what they've been doing at Funimation. So, in the eyes of the public, like we can go by the eyes of the Dallas Morning News, or we can go by the eyes of just literally anybody else that you ask. This has been really terrible for Funimation, because even if we're all wrong and Vic was everything they said about him, then by their own standards, they knowingly hired a sexual predator repeatedly, openly joked about it, and never once informed anybody that there was a danger.
Yeah.
While saying that they knew it was happening.
Yeah.
By our standard, they are hiring a current sexual predator who's abusing his position to gain sexual favors for roles in Dragon Ball. Either way, Funimation's a terrible company, so I'm kind of that's a pretty big win for me, is exposing everything that's been going on at Funimation and exposing Chris Spott, Sean Schemmel, and all these other just knuckleheads. For me, if that's the worst case scenario, I'm fully okay taking that.
Well, it also would expose like the disorganization that they have in that company as well, because I mean, it's just like they have this rule set that means absolutely nothing. because nobody follows it. So it's just like, so what's even the point? And again, it like people have been saying, and it's true, it exposes the hypocrisy of the company as well, where they would speak on something and not something else. I mean, look how quick they were to speak on Vic's situation, but when these accusations, when actual tangible evidence comes out,
it's not. I'm saying Funimation, ANN. I mean, we all know ANN's a joke, right? We know ANN is a joke.
Absolutely,
all of us. How many people read ANN, saw the stuff on Funimation blowing up on Twitter, went to ANN and said, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
where is this?
Supposed to be about integrity. This is news. Why don't you cover it first?
And then I'm sure that people are going to sit there and go like, "Why aren't you reporting? Wait, hold on. Then what are you not telling us about the other stuff going on with Funimation?" It's like, look, you just exposed yourself as kind of like bending the knee to a major corporate player.
Yeah. That you're shills for them, basically. And I don't know, maybe you could confirm this for me or not. I had heard something about them saying something along the lines of not wanting to get it wrong, that they'd rather be the last to talk about it so that they don't get things wrong. And I'm just like, I mean, they seem pretty quick to report on the other stuff.
No, they are 100% dishonest. Only because when something comes out, they will jump on it, they'll run with it, and they will not fact check, they will not wait, they'll just go. They don't care.
Yeah, of course.
Suddenly with Funimation, this major player, it blew up on Twitter. It was international, trending internationally.
Yeah.
You can't then say, well, we're not going to write anything about that. You don't even need to know the whole story to say, accusations have been made, these have been leaked, Funimation trending on international Twitter. Write 3 paragraphs, post it on your site, people are going to click on it.
Yeah.
You chose not to do that. There was a reason behind it. It sure shit wasn't trying to get... What could you possibly get wrong there?
Yeah.
Audio was leaked. People are tagging Funimation. All of a sudden, Funimation is trending on Twitter.
Yeah.
You have a Japanese voice actor come out and talk about how it's completely disrespectful to the Dragon Ball franchise. I think that these are all out there. They're open. I'm not reporting on it the same way others are, and I've seen it all as it was happening. ANN is just...
Of course. They're more worried about keeping that relationship intact so they can get fed certain information or get preferential treatment. But that, again, that's not...
Once you accept the preferential treatment, you've accepted the preferential treatment.
Yeah. and the thing is, it's bad because it's just like, especially if you're talking about, being a company that has integrity, you got to play it down the middle, you know what I mean? Or at least give the illusion, right? That you're somewhat, that you're somewhat neutral, you're somewhat objective in your approach to reporting things. And not even that, not even that. And it's just, again, it's just, I think that's going to be another potential nail in the coffin for them too as a website moving forward, So.
Well, yeah, people don't literally. I think that they got the most clicks to their website from people going onto their website to see that they weren't reporting on the whole Funimation thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, if the worst possible scenario from all of this is it ends tomorrow and we only have what we currently have, I'd say that's a lot. There's been so much that's come out, so much that's been exposed about all these players, everything that's been happening at Funimation behind the scenes, a lot of this dirty drama that none of us ever knew about. It's all out there and it's in the open. I have no clue what happens moving forward, but I think people still stand with Vic because you still haven't shown us anything that says he's guilty of any of the things that you've said he's done. In fact, all we've seen from the court is that they agree that the defendants in the case were acting very inappropriately and did actually commit some of the actions they were accused of. It's just an argument of whether or not it caused damages. Well, if that's where we're at, then dismiss it all tomorrow. As far as I'm concerned, Vic proved that these people are maligning him. Vic proved that he hasn't done anything wrong by the fact that nobody will go to the police. And we've proven that these people that have said all these nasty and terrible things are actual monsters.
Yeah.
I
They're no
think that
saints.
that's
Yeah.
I think that's a major win that nobody's really considered here.
Yeah, and I think again that's something else that I would agree with you on. With that, for people that are looking at the overall thing, oh man, he's going to lose, or it's done. It's especially if the judge is like this or whatever, however they want to feel about it. And look, it could very well, the whole thing could very well get thrown out and dismissed. But again, I think the takeaways from it, at least in my view, is that it sheds some light on these other people. People could say, "Oh, that it sheds light on Vic," but really, I think it sheds more light on all the other people involved, and it speaks to their motives. So that's something people should look at too. Because think about this: the one that's been the most consistent, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people that will play mental gymnastics about it, but I think the one that actually has had the most consistent arguments of anybody has been Vic. At least in my view, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I mean, we have. With Monica, her story's changed 2 or 3 times at this point of what actually happened. I mean, there's definitely some deception going on there. There's intention of wrongdoing there with Ron and Monica. There's proof, and that's the other thing too. There's actual tangible proof, that speaks to more to the character of these other people involved. When you hear those Funimation recordings right there, and again, look. I get it. People look at that. Oh, well, they were just joking this, that, or the other. Personally, I wasn't offended by any of the Funimation.
No.
I didn't hear them and think, oh my God, I'm so offended.
You didn't clutch your pearls and talk about how this was the end of Dragon Ball?
Yeah, I didn't care. Honestly, I mean, I found some of them funny to a small degree. Some of them were cringy. I was like, ugh, that's not even funny. That's just like bad. It's cringy. It's not even funny. I mean, it's almost.
I imagine it was the part where Piccolo shows up and rapes Yamcha.
Yeah,
right?
like that's just cringy. Yeah, that whole thing is just cringy. I'm just like, it's just like that's just it's just dumb. You know what I mean? But it's kind of make you chuckle at it because it's kind of like because it's so bad.
I'm chuckling at it because these are legitimately the voices I heard as a kid on TV. Raping each other.
And I saw people trying to use the Thundercats the Thundercats leaked outtakes, and they those are nowhere near as bad. They're really not. And it's funny that compare.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Nowhere near as bad.
The voice of Lionel, Larry, I believe his name is Larry Kenny. The voice of Lionel, basically from the old cartoon and stuff.
Yeah.
Cursing and doing all this stuff, but they're nowhere near as bad. They're not.
Sabat cut, edited, and put in sound effects and licensed music to a 4-minute audio clip.
That he meticulously he made it a point. He actually made it a point to take time out of his day to make a production out of it.
Well, it's like the Krillin outtake, right? Where Krillin's just like, I gotta feed the bitch, and like that's an outtake. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
It's a little raunchy, but I saw nothing wrong with it. And then he gets in, he's like, oh, sorry. I'm like, okay, that's clearly an outtake.
Yeah.
Then there's Sabat's 4-minute hentai audio drama.
Exactly. He actually meticulously took the effort to make that. I mean, that to me, okay, all right. I mean, however you want to spend your time, man, that's not good. But again, and it's cringy. It's not even like, to me, I didn't even find it funny. Like, it's one of those things to laugh at because it's bad, because it's so bad. It's not even that it's not funny. And the fact that, again, knowing what went into it, but again, all those outtakes, right? All that stuff speaks to the character of these people that try to stand on this moral high ground of, I'm such a great person, what I'm saying, and this guy's really a bad guy. When you hear them talk about this, right? When you hear talk about this stuff, and and the same people that are defending them are probably the same people that probably heard the Trumps grab them by the remark, probably, and were highly offended by it. You know what I'm saying? Are the same people that are defending, those were outtakes, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay.
Oh, everybody wants to be offended. It's like, I saw, I can't remember who was, who was tweeting about it. I think it was Yellow Flash, but the movie, I think Tug maybe even did the video on it too. The guy does this long tweet thread about freaking it and how there's this gay bashing at the start of the movie, right? and he's talking about how it's terrible and how it's going to make you feel like it's the worst thing in the movie. I'm like, dude, what? It's like, I'm Arab, man. Do you know how many movies the Arab dude just gets like exploded like that?
It's just a movie. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I might, because I could be about this, but if I'm not mistaken, isn't that something that actually happened in the book?
Yeah, it did happen. So the context behind it, from what I understand, is Stephen King. He was affected by that murder. It was a real life tragedy that happened. This dude was beaten for being gay, and they killed him. And it affected Stephen King. That's why he had it in the book. And it actually, I don't know if you saw the movie, but because I've not read Stephen King's books, so for any Stephen King fans, big sorry. But in the movie, it ties in later because one of the characters is gay. It's a secret, and the clown Pennywise is taunting him about it. And you can kind of see why he's afraid of it, because you see the gay bashing at the start of the movie that took place in the town.
Yeah.
Right? There was context there. It's why it mattered. You were supposed to feel sympathy, but you're right. It was gay bashing in a movie. They completely stripped all the context out of it. They don't care. And it was the worst possible thing. That's a protected class. You can't do anything to it. I'm like, dude, I don't want, okay, fine. I don't want to see any more Arabs being exploded in movies. I want us treated with respect. I want to see the next movie about the president. I don't want to see a black president. I want to see an Arab president and just be a giant fuck you to everybody.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just if it's written into the movie and it makes sense. It's like nothing is hands off when it comes to stuff like that. If it's written and it's within a proper context, it doesn't matter. It's just like you can't expect a person of a protected class to not be what's the word I'm looking for, be exempt, I guess, from bad things happening to them in a story. I mean, it's just it is what it is. It's just
like every horror movie is basically just going to be The Purge for white people. It's coming.
It might, man. It might. I mean, it's just people shouldn't get overly sensitive about that, and they got to remember, look, it's a movie. I mean, it's a movie. Sometimes there's stuff that's based on true events in movies. It reminds me of it's a movie that Hilary Swank made. I want to say either I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000s. She made a movie called Boys Don't Cry, where she portrayed a lesbian that was, at the time, of course, you could say they weren't using this kind of terminology, but she portrayed a trans, I guess, a trans man, I guess you could say, in the movie. So she was one of the boys, and they then the people, I think some guys in the town found out. Apparently, this is again based on a true story of something that actually happened. They found out that she was actually woman, so they ended up violating her and killing her, and it's rough stuff, but it's like, and it's.
But okay, but it's like you said, right? The point of that is not to glorify the violence against her. It's to make you feel for the person it's happening to.
Exactly.
It's meant to make you feel uncomfortable and to sympathize with the victim.
Correct.
And they do not understand that. They don't get it. But then they want sympathy anyways, at the same time saying that I'm a protected individual and nothing bad can ever happen to me, and I want you to feel sorry for me.
Yeah, exactly. And and that's the thing. It makes me wonder if people were upset by that, by it. I mean, it makes you wonder what would happen if that movie, because that movie's called, I believe, Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah,
I think it's the name of the movie. It makes you wonder what would happen if that movie came out now. It would
never come out. Cancel culture. Yeah. It would be the same thing you see with everybody else that it's happened to, with every other movie it's happened to. It's cancel culture. It's the same thing that hit Vic and everybody before Vic. It takes this one individual who feels that they have the right to not be offended. And you don't have the right to express yourself freely, to defend yourself, to do anything. You don't have those rights. They have the right to not be offended.
Yeah.
They don't believe you have real rights, but they have made up rights.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And nobody's saying that, look, if somebody wants to be offended, they do have the right to feel offended, but you can't, you know, I mean, that's not something you can impose on everybody else. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean that people don't have the right to offend. People absolutely have the right to offend. So it's one of those things that it falls, you know, it's moot. It's a moot point. Just, you don't like it, the best thing to do is vote with your dollars. You know, don't support it. You know, or if you're offended by the people that are involved with it, like with this whole thing with Vic, right? If people don't like him, I mean, and they see him somewhere publicly, I mean, you don't have to go see him. You can avoid him. No. I'm pretty sure he's not going to go out of his way to go and try to make you feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
No,
it's not even know you're there.
And that's the thing that I think. Last time, I'm going to go a little bit off topic, just with the whole cancel culture. You saw it with Dave Chappelle. I think he was specifically doing that because he wants them to go after him, just so he can continue to mock and call them out on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, Chappelle knows what he's doing. The thing is, he said it in a special, you know, you clicked on my face.
Yeah.
They did, and then they complained about the jokes that he was making, saying that they're offensive and everything, specifically for targeting one individual, even though he went after everybody.
Yeah, he's an equal opportunity offender.
With Vic, he just give him his space to do his thing. Like, you don't want to go see him, just don't go see him. It's not that hard. You just have to not go see him. In fact, after all this stuff happened, how many people were going to the conventions Vic was there at just to take photos of the conventions and mock them and try to deride Vic even further? Yeah. Like, I've never understood the whole Kick Vic movement saying, like, they're Vic stands when they're literally sending out stalkers to go track where he's going to, go to all the conventions he's at, take photos, and start drama.
Yep.
Kind of feel you sort of took over the stalker angle from the get-go.
Yep.
But
exactly. and that's another thing too. It's just like, what do you gain from that? Not really anything. I mean, I guess you'll have a couple people that will, you know, if the whole point of it is to get those digital back pats on social media and get that kind of a, you know, emotional validation online that you're looking for, then I guess it was worth it. If that's what validates your existence, you know what I mean?
It's like collectivism versus individualism. Some people pride themselves on being an individual, on being independent. Others really they need the group. They aren't strong on their own, and they don't grow beyond that. And you know, growing up in the city, I can say that you see that more in urban areas where there's this larger group of people out there. And it's the individuals who tend to rise up and take advantage of the whole situation.
And the thing is, no, I get what you're saying, man, because I've grown up mostly around urban areas, you know, but you know, to me, it's just like, it's one of those things. I understand on both sides where people would get emotionally invested and stuff like that. And what I would say, I think the biggest thing I would say is that, you know, take it in stride as best you can, because the truth of the matter is, outside of, you know, the judge and the lawyers involved are really the ones that are going to make a difference in the situation. Really, we're all spectators. I mean, you know, of course, when you see stuff like, you know, certain people, you know, trying to go after the judge, that doesn't help, obviously.
No,
but at the same time, you know, there's really nothing that we can do outside of showing, you know, moral support, and just, again, you know, just look at it, you know, try to look at it as objectively as possible. In some instances, there's some things that are more clear cut, of course, that people are going to have their biases in, which they should. But also remember that it's not over for one. And the other thing is, there's not really much we can do to really change any of the results that may or may not be coming. I mean, maybe, you know, maybe to a very, 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 very minute degree, maybe, but even then, it's again, it's up to the people that are going to be front row of this, and that's the judge and the lawyers.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because I don't think I've stated it in video at all yet. I know I've tweeted the same thing. Do not tag the judge in any type of way. Say his name. Hit him on Facebook. Don't bring up the judge into any of this. Like, you want to criticize what the judge said. I've openly done that. I have no issues with doing that. I'm sure judges are kind of used to their rulings being scrutinized by other people who are on the side. I'm sure of it. Don't fucking make a threat towards a judge. You're basically pulling a Rontoye when you make a threat towards the judge. So you really have nowhere to stand anymore if you do that. Please do not pull a Rontoye. Please.
Yeah. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And things are just gotta wait and see how things are gonna play out. That's it. And hopefully the next time that they're in court, the next time that Ty and his team are in court, hopefully it'll be a better day for them. But again, take away the positives from everything. That's what I would say. Look at all the good things that could still potentially come out about this. And honestly, I mean, the way I see it too.
I would say, just real quick, look at all the good things that have already come out about this.
Yeah.
We've got to focus on the positive aspects that have come up. And just one thing that I have not said already, look at where things were for Vic in March and look at where they are for Vic now. Yeah. He's getting invited back to conventions. He has a much stronger fan base. And if this whole thing gets thrown out of court and dismissed tomorrow, he still has a ton of support behind him and a lot of people desperate to see him get back into work. That his reputation was definitely tarnished, but I really at this point do not think that they destroyed it like I did back in March and April.
Again, and I think if you look at the bigger picture here, I think the biggest takeaway is how much light this has shed on the other people involved. Not him so much, because again, I think his everything he said, I think has been the most consistent. I also think he's been the most forthcoming and honest when it comes to stuff. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to me like there's been any deception on his part. He was, it was honest. And I remember when that came out in the deposition, the whole, I touched her hair, but I didn't grab it. At least, and people were thinking, oh, see, and this, that, or the other. And the thing is, look, he was honest about the fact that, that, okay, there's some degree of truth to some of the things that you're saying, but they're spinning it in a way that is dishonest. Mm-hmm. That's not how it actually went down. So to me, that says a lot. I mean, when you see that in comparison to these other depositions where stories have changed and where things just are, you could tell that, all right, this person's not telling the whole story. Mm-hmm. And this person says they don't remember when clearly they remember. You know what I mean? It's just, again, all that. Look at all that. And the thing is, there's a lot of people that, again, on the other side, that they're not willing to call a spade a spade. Look, to me, I mean, if Vic really did anything that I thought was super deceptive, I would be like, well, that sounds kind of shady. You know what I mean? I'd have no problem saying it, because.
No, like you said, the prostitution thing. He hired one. He doesn't have history doing it. He did it once. I think that's really bad. I don't think you should do stuff like that. Period. That is how I feel. Right? Do I think that then makes him a child enthusiast? Hell no. That's the thing, right? Vic is forthcoming. He didn't try to hide that. Didn't try to sneak it around the table. But then you go to, like you said, Rontoye. I know these people hate Vic. I just cannot for the life of me even recall if we had a negative or a positive conversation about Vic. Like, stuff like that.
I am, no, exactly. And that's the thing. Look at that. I mean, think about that for a moment. These are things that are honestly humiliating for anybody else. And the thing is, he accepted responsibility for it. Look, I'm sure it's not easy to sit there in front of, even one person or two people and admit, basically, I've been a cheater. I've been unfaithful. I mean, yes, I hired somebody to have, sexual relations with, and I mean, that's, come on, and the thing is, but it shows that he's willing to take accountability. That he's all right. Yeah, these are really embarrassing and personal things about myself. But yeah, I'm not going to deny that they happened.
No,
it was
he's
me.
not.
I own up to it.
He's not perfect. He owns up to not being perfect. And if your claim on him is, well, he's not he's not the most perfect, selfless individual that you think he is. Well, I kind of think people are people. I kind of don't think that he is, RAPEing people and touching children in front of their parents. There's a few reasons why I don't believe it beyond just not believing Vic did it. I highly doubt that the parents would let that happen, because I think in one claim they said totally anonymous family, and the parents were totally okay with it because they let them have free tickets to the convention. I'm like, sitting there going, like, you don't have children then. You do not understand being a parent then. I don't understand being a parent. I have nieces. Yeah. If that happened to my nieces, I would drive down to the convention and start strangling somebody. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Yeah, that's how most people are for their kids. But you're trying to spin stories in which people were being promised free tickets and they were just totally okay with it. Like,
yeah, and I think that same person also said, or had said previously that their parents have memory issues. So again, it's how what I mean? It's just like they don't plan ahead when they want to tell these stories, when they want to tell their story. Right. And that's another thing, too. Exactly. That speaks a lot to that person's parents. So basically what you're saying is, there's a price tag on your, I guess, your honor or respect, at least in your parents' eyes, because look, no parent, especially when it comes to kids, you would think that if it was a thing of kids actually being abused in some manner or another, there'd be a file, man. There would absolutely be a file. Somebody would have made a big enough stink about that there's no way to cover that up. None. I mean, there would have been some kind of police report, incident, something. There would have been something. There would have been an arrest, something. There would have been some kind of investigation, because that's the one thing that I think universally anybody can agree with it, and nobody, regardless of what side they're on, is not going to tolerate, and that's abuse happening towards kids of that nature.
It's not just, and the idea that conventions, multiple conventions for years have known about this and brought him back anyways, and they took the what's that term? They made themselves vulnerable and completely exposed to a lawsuit by bringing in an individual that they knew would potentially, like, I'm sorry, like, how much money would Vic bring in to compete with the fact that they would completely ruin themselves for years? Yeah, no, man, most people don't make that trade.
Well, here's the other thing too, I'll tell you, and it's something that I think came up when Tug had Stan Dolan on his channel. Convention promoters, if they're friendly with each other and they know each other, they 100% talk. They 100% talk to each other about guests. They might talk to each other about certain things that work for them.
They're in the business together. They're in the business together. I mean, they have to.
The only time, I mean, they don't is if they're rivals, and or they're not friendly with each other, and they're very competitive, highly competitive with each other. Then they won't share any kind of information. Or if one starts to, it's business, right? It's business at the end of the day. But when they're friendly with each other, they talk. And when stuff like that gets, when stuff gets around about certain guests, that's, that it can be very, there is blacklists and things like that between convention promoters, or they do have blacklists for their conventions and stuff like that of people that they won't invite back. Sometimes they might be vocal about it. Sometimes they may not. They might keep it a secret. But with something like that, something to the degree of that, like of basically a criminal act like that, I highly doubt any convention promoter would keep that a secret. I would like, or at least I'd like to believe that they would go to the police. You know what I mean? Or have the police come to their show or something like that. But you never know. I mean, I guess it's certainly a possibility that they might keep it quiet, but I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that any convention promoter would keep that one a secret. Oh, he's an abuser of kids. Yeah, so I'm just not going to say anything and let him continue to go on to other conventions. We'll let him go to my friend's convention and do the same thing. Yeah,
I'm no joke. I'm starting to think to these people that like police are unicorns. Like,
yeah,
they know what you're talking about when you describe the police, but they don't actually exist, and they think you're crazy for even bringing up the police.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, think about this. Here's another thing to kind of put a little bit more in perspective. If you're a person that's had Vic at your show and, I've known about Vic's history. Okay. All right. If you're a person that believes 100% that he's all these horrible things you say he is, why not call the police? You're not going to have him back at your show anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you just go ahead and have a police report filed against him? You know what I'm saying? If you have no intention, if you've blacklisted him, why wouldn't you do it? You know what I'm saying? You might as well go full scorched earth, right? I mean, you have no intention of ever inviting him back, right? So why not just go ahead and have there be some kind of record of it? You know what I'm saying? That's again where I have a hard time believing some of these convention promoters, but when we look at information, right, that's come out with some of these people that run these conventions, a lot of the information that they've put out is this second-hand or third-hand accounts. They're not even first-hand accounts. They're not the person that's experienced it. It's somebody else. You know what I mean? And as we saw, there's been a couple instances of that where the actual
somebody else came forward and said, "Keep my name out of your mouth."
Yes, the actual person. Yeah, the actual person has come out and debunked and been like, "Nah, didn't happen." So just again, it speaks to a lot of these so-called showrunners, that act like they're doing something in good faith. You know what I mean? When it's really okay, it's obvious that they just don't like the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's not just not liking the guy. I mean, it's pretty clear that whole Funimation clique absolutely detest him, and they have so much pull. So, I mean, like, why would you want to put yourself in bad graces with the entire Funimation cast while Dragon Ball is so huge versus Vic Mignogna, who, I mean, yeah, he's a big draw for your conventions, but is he going to give you the level of access to all of these other people that Funimation's giving you? End of the day, no, Funimation has more power there, and person in power at Funimation is not that Gen whatever. It's Chris Sabat, who does their hiring and their casting, and somehow has a competing studio to them that is always hired to work for them.
It's outsourced, yeah.
I don't know, man. It just seems a little fishy.
Yeah, of course, exactly, and that's the thing. And hopefully, that's what'll come of it, right? That it sheds a light, and there's, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
To think that there's actually going to be some kind of investigation done there. But maybe, one could still hope. Maybe Funimation might look at everything and say, you know what, not sure if it's worth keeping some of these, and again, let me clarify this. I don't think anybody should lose their jobs over stuff, but at the same time, I think people need to be held accountable for the things that they say and do. So at the very least, I think there should be some kind of reprimand, or there should be some kind of disciplinary action taken, because again, if they went out of their way, think about this again, they went out of their way to comment about stuff that happened with Vic, and people are trying to say, well, you can't compare the two because one is this and the other is this. That doesn't matter. I mean, the point is it's not about comparing which one is worse than the other. It's about the fact that these people, and by these people I mean Funimation, they're inconsistent about the way they run things. Completely inconsistent. They're willing to discipline one and not the other, and not even just discipline one, but go out of their way to make an example out of one person, based on an investigation that, to me, it really is just relegated to a few phone calls. I don't know if you could really call that a proper investigation. I mean, unless there's some other documentation out there.
So everything we've heard about Funimation's HR department is that it's one or maybe two people, and that if you tell them anything, it will be leaked out to everybody who works at the company. So you don't actually have a human resources department. You have a gossip who will tell all of your shit to the person who you really don't want them talking to. Funimation's a joke. Like, I know you don't want anyone to lose their job. I will say this: if Chris Sabat is legit having a casting couch, he should be thrown out of Funimation and the entire anime industry, because that is just shady as shit. Like, that sort of thing, I think that should get you thrown out entirely.
Well, maybe, of course, I mean,
because with the hot takes, the Schemmel going, fig, my son's a figget all over again. Yeah. That sort of thing, you can say that that's just him being stupid and silly and, is in poor taste, like the He-Man parody. Yeah. Fine. Chris Sabat needs to go, though, if he has a goddamn casting couch.
Yeah, if he's actually a person that is doing stuff like that, if he's truly like the Harvey Weinstein of, the anime industry, no, of course, I understand he should be, I would expect them to be ousted by the anime community at large, if any of that holds any kind of merit, then he would definitely be ousted. I wouldn't be surprised. And the thing is, if there's people out there that he's actually actually gone beyond that that have been victims of some kind of assault or something like that, then they should definitely go to the police if they're able to. But again, those are, again, we don't know if all that's true. It's just it's accusations as well. And because of that, look, I have to be consistent in the fact that, hey, look, show the receipts. It's just like with Vic. I mean, if it show the actual receipts on that, show the proof. So for me, it's just accusations, just like it is with Vic. It's just accusations, just hearsay, until somebody can come forward and with some kind of legitimate proof, some kind of tangible proof that something like that happened, whether it be messages, documentation, pictures, whatever, whatever it is that really solidifies that fact. But
it shouldn't be too hard. Just remember, for many times over many years and many conventions, from what I understand, is something like 15, 20-ish plus, right? Something like that. So it shouldn't be very hard for at least one of these times over the past 15-ish years for one camera to have caught Vic. Just one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need, is just one.
And that's the thing. And not all venues have cameras. I mean, not even some of the not necessarily. I mean, some of the bigger ones you could probably expect them in convention centers. It's a little bit more likely that they'll have them around for security and stuff.
I'm talking about the fans. Like, the conventions could have no cameras. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about the damn fans walking around everywhere.
Right? And, filming stuff. I mean, you would think exactly. You would have caught something.
How many times have they said specifically no cameras allowed, and you got footage from the event because some jackass is in there with his phone? Like,
well, that's the thing. It's to the point. It's to the point now where basically, look, and it's always kind of the whole thing with filming at conventions. Most conventions will put that in their guidelines, like, and they let it be known to even the attendees, hey, look, you might be photographed or filmed, and there's nothing we can do about it. Where it's just the nature of this, because this is a public, an event that's open to the public. You may be filmed or photographed without your knowledge or consent. It's something that happens. There's nothing we can do about it. We are not liable for that. So a lot of conventions will put that in their kind of convention, guidelines or rules and stuff like that, just to let people know that it's something that happens. And exactly, you would think with all that, especially nowadays, everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody's got, some way of recording, right? Whether it be audio or video to some capacity. And nothing. You know what I mean? And again, in this age where, again, with smartphones where you get screenshot stuff, you get screenshot text messages and stuff like that, nothing. You know what I mean? You know, these people that have accused Vic, you know, that have said, oh, I was in contact with him, you know, I had his phone number, I would speak to him regularly, this, that, or the other. They haven't been able to provide nothing, man. Nothing. No salacious screenshots of text messages of a text message interaction that they had with him, or any pictures or anything like that. You know what I mean? Nothing.
Yeah.
Which is it's interesting.
Well, I mean, you know what? That's actually, I'm really glad I had you on here, because from what I can gather, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic again, but from where we are today, from where we were Thursday before this entire thing, the only difference that we have now is that the judge seems to believe that Ron Toye did interfere with Vic Mignogna's contract with Kamehacon. He just doesn't necessarily believe there were damages that I was able to prove to him. Seems to be like the only real takeaway I have there. And still no evidence against Vic. Lots of evidence against Funimation. And just a huge PR nightmare for Funimation, whereas Vic is gaining a lot more support. So, again, am I being overly optimistic there, John?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, that's all anybody can do, if you know, is to be optimistic in their support. And honestly, look, whether the case is won or not, like I said, you know, there is going to be some positive takeaways. Of course, there's still going to be, no matter, there's a flip side of that though as well, because even if win or lose.
Well, now we have the hover hands at the conventions now.
Yeah, there you go. The win or lose, the stigma. Unfortunately, there's still going to be stigma about Vic. That's one of the unfortunate realities is that.
Well, I mean, even
there's going to be a stigma about him.
Not even just the accusation stigma. There will be some crazy little nut job that will call them, and occasionally will just reach out because they see his name and they're just batshit crazy or absolutely convinced.
Of course, this is something that's going to follow him around for a while. And there's going to be people that are going to be tweeting at conventions, "Hey, this, that, or the other. Don't invite him." It's always going to happen. It's always going to happen now, unfortunately. And there's always people that are going to make a stink about it. That's something, again, it's going to follow him around regardless of whether he were to win this case or not. But again, like I would say to anybody, this is not a criminal court trial. You know, this is not about speaking to his guilt or innocence regarding these accusations. I mean, I think that's something that people at this point are really going to have to make the decision for themselves. I mean, look at the evidence, or I should say, look at, you know, the lack of evidence. You know, I mean, if anything, regarding
it's look at the evidence against Funimation and the voice actors, and then compare that to the non-evidence against Vic, and see which one really sways your opinion.
Well, that's another thing that I find very interesting about this, because there's actual tangible evidence against these other people involved that really.
Well, there's evidence of their wrongdoing, and there's the judge saying in court how he sees that the statements being made here could clearly be defamatory.
Yeah.
So if he left defamation on the table. Again, I'm going right back into the thing again. I do think that, like you said, there's more to be positive here. There's going to be a bunch of negatives. And again, let's say tomorrow that everything was appealed and we're back in, Marchie's back in court, and 5 months later Vic wins everything. There's still going to be negative consequences. You're still going to have. You saw like Keanu Reeves does it at the conventions he goes to, where where the hover hands are going to be a thing now, because you basically just told people that personal contact of any kind can be used against you, and I mean of any kind, because I know a lot of people are like, "Whoa, there were plenty." They said that he didn't ask for permission. Yeah, but you took photos of people that were happy and were perfectly okay, and you took their photos and said it wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
You ruined it for like everybody, because like, dude, most people hug. Like if you go anywhere else in the world, I maybe it's just because I grew up with Arab culture a little bit. You hug and you kiss. You're affectionate towards people.
Yeah.
Right.
growing up Hispanic, man.
Yeah, right. You have not even a family member, just like a really good friend of the family. That's your uncle, and he shows up. He has dinner at your house with his wife and their children, or your cousins. This is how most other cultures are. But then you get to the U.S. and they try to make it sound like, oh, you tried. Eventually, we're gonna get to the point where you tried to shake my fucking hand without permission. Oh my god!
It could. It's scary to think that it could, but it could. Yeah, it could get to that point. I did not consent to this handshake. It could get to that point, and that's a scary thing. People need to really stop being overly sensitive when it comes to certain things. Like, and I get it. Look, I'm not saying that people have the right to feel uncomfortable or not, or be offended by the stuff they want to be offended by. But at the same time, again, we got to be very careful about where that leads, especially in regards to laws being made and things like that. Because again, with a situation like that, that's where it becomes a slippery slope. We see people like this really trying hard to equate something like that, something like a kiss on the cheek, to an actual violation. A physical violation, and it's not.
I'm still laughing when I read that, Dallas. Everybody gets offended at the Dallas Morning News article, lady. I still laugh at it just because it's so funny that this woman has equated actual sexual predation and violence to a dude running his hands through another woman's hair, the same way I've seen plenty of dudes do it when I'm in San Francisco. And I'm just saying, look, most people have that contact with people that they know. People ruffle through my hair. I get annoyed by it, but my hair is really wavy, so I'll do that and just mess it up. You've had that happen to you, I assume, when you were younger. People do it to me as an adult. I would love it if they did it, but I don't sit there and go, oh!
Well, think about this too for a moment. Think about this too for a moment. If and this is not be saying anything negative towards the gay community, but think about if that standard would apply if Vic actually were a gay man. You know what I mean?
Thought he was. They thought he was.
They thought he was, but what if he actually was? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I want to make this very clear. And I said, I said Sean Schemmel is a homophobe, given today's modern vernacular for the word. Yeah. But maybe they kind of are, and I'm only saying this because they legit thought Vic was gay. They made fun of the way he dressed and said that he dressed like he was gay.
Yeah.
And then turned around and said, well, on top of that, he's also a pedo and he likes to touch little boys. You see how quickly they jumped from calling him gay to calling him a pedophile.
Yep.
That, I know 100% because, I was in high school. I was part of the GSA because, it's very common for pedophiles to try to associate themselves with the LGBT movement and gay people to push back on that. So that in Funimation's eyes, it's not too far off to make jokes about someone being a fig and also then turn around and make jokes about him being a pedo. I'm telling you, it's because that's kind of how they see the gay community. That's my interpretation, anyways.
No. Yeah, I mean,
but hey.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, again, that wasn't his first time kind of, mocking that community, right?
No.
Because with the He-Man thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, how do you really feel, Sean? Tell us how you really feel. You know what I mean? I'm not saying people can't change. But it definitely makes you wonder.
Yeah, I see. If I call Sean Schemmel a homophobe because Sean Schemmel's a homophobe, I don't think that he sees a gay person and shrieks in horror and curls up in fear. I just think that he really doesn't respect them, period. I think he sees them as different people entirely, which is why he made that He-Man parody.
Yeah.
It's why he did the whole, fig, my son's a figgot, and why he would tell jokes about how the way Vic Mignogna dressed was gay. You guys are okay with that type of humor and that type of language, and on top of it, then you swung around and said, well, not only is he gay, but he's also a pedo. Like,
Yeah.
you people went there.
Yeah.
Kind of says more about you than it does about Vic. And if anything, if you actually really did think that he was doing these things, like a lot of the people on the Kick Vic side really do feel he did, right?
Yeah.
Why were you making jokes about a dude that you knew was doing these things? Like, why did you do that little, like, Sean Schemmel, like, little voice acting thing in which he pretended to be Vic talking about liking little boys when Sean Schemmel knew about this the entire time? And other people at Funimation knew.
Yeah, exactly. And again,
and all these big brain heroes couldn't tell a single convention, hey, you know, all of these hundreds of children that are here, by the way, no. No, just went to conventions, chilled with him, had drinks with him, then got the next morning, did panels with him, did this all for years, and then they'd call him back later, hey, man, you want to take this part? He'd be like, yeah, and then he'd freaking do it, and he'd probably fly down to the Funimation studios, and you'd shake his hand, and you all were okay with this. I can tell you right now, if I knew someone was a pedophile and I worked with them, I wouldn't shake their hand, I wouldn't pretend to be friends with them. I take my car and I try to hit them with it. I'm not joking. Like, I don't know how these people, like, run around and make these claims like, you know, we're standing for children and women when they don't give a shit. They thought it was a joke. They thought it was funny. If they really believed it, then why the hell were they making jokes about it?
Well, and exactly, that's another thing too. It's just like, why wouldn't you go to law enforcement? Why wouldn't you file some kind of report? Why wouldn't you, you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you get anybody that could do something about it involved, you know, that can make a difference in this? Like, okay, look, this person is, you know, they're doing these things, you know what I mean? Or even if you just suspect it, I mean, exactly, you would think there would have been moves made against him from the very beginning if there was even the suspicion of any kind of wrongdoing like that, instead of just sitting idly by and not doing anything. I mean, at the very least, you there would be something on paper. Again, there'd be some kind of documented history at the very least. You know, if you were a person that strongly believed that, like if Sean strongly believed that and he really felt like, I think that it's only a matter of time before there's an incident with this guy. I'm going to get out ahead of it. I think that this guy is planning something. I want you to know that I think he's planning something. I'm telling you right now, I have suspicion, I have
because
to do this based on X, Y,
Z. You're being associated with that guy, right?
Exactly. And that's, again, and that's the thing you would have expected. I mean, then again, you don't know what's in people's minds, but I would like to think that if for any reason, if I was working anywhere, and especially in an industry like that, where again, there's the possibility that you're going to be around a lot of young fans, and I felt very uncomfortable with another person, I would say something to somebody. I'd be like, look, you need to really look hard at this dude. You need to really look hard at him. If I don't care whether you put my names on these papers or not. I'm just letting you know, tell me where I need to sign.
Yeah.
So that we can ensure the safety of these kids or whatever, because I really feel that this dude might do something to them. You know what I mean?
You know what? From the start, like I said, I think that there is more to be positive about in this entire thing that's happened. There's a lot of wins that we just haven't even tallied yet. And there's just so much from the start in when all this began in January and February, and how bad it looked in March and April to where we are today. I'd say even if the worst case scenario happens and everything is thrown out, Vic is still the same person we thought he was. And we now know so much more about all the nasty things that Funimation has done. Just how terrible these people are, how disrespectful they are, not just to their own product, but towards their fan base. Like, yeah. I get it. You don't have to agree with every opinion I have. I get that. Like, I really, really hate Chris Evans' political opinions. I think that dude is a blibbering moron. But my God, do I not love watching him as Captain America?
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I don't like sit there and go, but man, he says the worst stuff on Twitter. I don't care. Most people don't. He doesn't turn around and then say, well, if you don't agree with me, then Captain America thinks you're a bitch. Like, he doesn't do shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he did, then I would be like, yeah, I'm not going to, like, man, I'm done buying the Funimation stuff. I'm not going to. I love my Dragon Ball stuff that I have now.
Yeah.
I was really hyped to kind of like build up more of the collections and everything. I know I can get stuff directly through Toei, through Amazon. I'm so burned out on everything. Like, I got 3 Vegeta shirts that have just been sitting in my closet I don't wear anymore. Just because as a kid who grew up on Dragon Ball, I can't help but associate Chris Sabat's voice with that character.
Yeah.
And he's just made it so difficult to separate. Like, all of his opinions be whatever, damn them, whatever they are. It's all this other stuff. It's the nastiness. It's the bitterness. It's the fact that, I read those Glassdoor reviews from before all this happened, and your own employees are talking about how you think fans is a derogatory term. Yeah. Stuff. And you got people openly joking in those reviews from way before all this. If you want to get anywhere, you have to sleep with Chris Sabat. Like, guys, like, you ruined it for me. You did. You freaking ruined it for me. But again,
yeah.
Anybody else, right? The Marvel actors, find one person who works on a Marvel movie that doesn't have like I was gonna say one person, but I'm remembering the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm forgetting his name. Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Okay. So he's pretty reasonable.
He's
yeah. But you know what I mean, right? You have Brie Larson. You have Chris Evans. You have Mark Ruffalo. Go see the stuff that they post on Twitter, right? It's gonna annoy the crap out of you if you're in the center or to the right. It doesn't mean that you then turn on the films and then, well, Captain Marvel, I guess. Totally different story. But you know what I mean, right? It doesn't mean you turn on the films and then go, man, I can't stop thinking about how much Chris Evans hates the president. It doesn't, you don't think about these things because they're not out on Twitter talking about how disgusting the fans are and how much they hate the fans.
Yeah.
Brie Larson started to go into it. I don't think that she has been anywhere near as bad as these voice actors are, right? Like, everything that we've said about Brie Larson is nowhere near as bad as the takes from any of the VAs at Funimation, right? It really just isn't. Look at how bad her movie did. Once you go and start slapping around your own audience and basically telling them that you give 0 fucks if they take your product anymore, then they're not gonna take your product. Like, man, you know what I was gonna do with this arm? Like, all Dragon Ball. Like, I had the tattoo artist like do a whole design of Shenron going down my arm, like the tail, and then do like the Dragon Balls along the side.
Yeah,
I'm scrapping that whole thing because I just can't do it. I don't want to be like associated with it just because it pisses me off to that extent. Like, I'll watch everything that's coming out subbed, but I'm done with anything to do with the dub or paying any more money that will go to Funimation. If they do another movie and it's in English, motherfucker, I will fly to fucking Japan to go see it. I don't want to give these people a dime anymore. I don't.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, there's some instances where you could separate the art from the artist, but others not. I mean, it's like, for me, it's kind of like I feel kind of similarly with Mark Waid after this whole thing, with diversity in comics. It's like I don't even want to read his stuff no more. I don't want to support him in any way, shape, or form. And the thing is, I liked his work, growing up. I read a lot of his work growing up. I was
a huge fan of his Daredevil run. I really was.
I was a huge fan of his Flash run. I loved his run on the Flash. His run on the Flash is my second favorite run on the Flash. I mean, first being Jeff Johns. I mean, I can't, Jeff Johns was, God, when he was on the Flash to me, but but before that it was I liked a lot of the stuff Mark Waid did and Mark Waid's run before that, and I loved Kingdom Come when he did Kingdom Come. That's like a must read. That was like a must read, like, for anybody. You know what I mean?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to read it too. Like, it's
but the
different.
thing is, but now it's just like, because of the fact that he actively sought to ruin a man's ability to start to start his business, or attempted to, I should say. I'm just like, man, I can't support this dude, because that's so malicious to do. That's such a crap thing to do, to go out of your way to make sure that this guy can't, won't be able to make. What does that have to do with you? You know what I'm saying? That just.
Well, I think with Mark Waid, he's got some sort of screw loose, and I'm only saying that because if I'm not at first I was just like, he's just regular kind of crazy, but then but I guess they stopped this editorial, and I'm pretty sure it was Yellow Flash who talked about it. But he put out this editorial where it was like trying to get people to go out into the streets and protest, like demanding that they resist. And I'm sitting there going like, oh man, you've lost the fucking plot so much. Like, if you want to, the thing is, Mark Waid is actually a talented and capable writer. He knows how to tell a story. So if he wanted this message to actually mean something, he'd find a way to put it into a comic book, right? Mm-hmm. Instead, what does he do? He runs around on social media. He goes to conventions. He tells people flat out that he is going to stop this other person because he has an idea that he just cannot agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, to work as an artist, to work as a journalist, to work in any position that fundamentally is protected by the First Amendment in the United States, and then to use your power and influence to then strip the right of somebody else to express themselves or to run their business because you dislike their ideas, is just so against everything that you should be standing for. Exactly. Especially you, Mark Waid.
As a writer. Yeah. Especially as a writer.
And it comes right down to it where it's just about wanting that power and wanting that influence and wanting everybody to walk in lockstep with you. And once you're that person, goodbye. It's really disappointing because I can tell that a lot of these people were picked on.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I was picked on a lot too. I absolutely was. I've talked about it before. I got my ass handed to me so many times, specifically for being Arab, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like to then have a little bit of influence over something else and wanting to abuse it and wanting to take that power back and wanting to take the control away from other people because you know that you could do better with it. It's just not how the world works. And as soon as you decide that you know better than somebody else, then inherently you are going to take away their right to do what they want to do, to be an idiot if they want to be an idiot, which they are fully, you don't have the right to stop someone from being stupid. Like, you just don't, right?
Yeah.
If someone wants to go out into the street, take off their shirt and start screaming, I don't know, just absolute stupidity over and over and over again. Yeah, I mean, they might call the cops because they think he's deranged, but, eventually at the end of the day, what's the guy actually doing, He's just standing around in like a park or something, walking around, screaming. Police show up and he goes, yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine. I just want to shout out my fucking lungs. Is that okay, officer? Do you have the right to stop me from being a fucking idiot? No, you don't. People have the right to be idiots. People have the right to have bad opinions. And the way you're going to counter that bad opinion, Mark Waid specifically, would be you'd write a better comic book. You'd let him produce his comic, right? And then you'd be so brilliant, you'd make characters that are kind of like the ones from his comic, and you'd show, and you'd just disassemble them and show all the flaws with it and produce a better story. Because as a capable writer, I think that you'd have some sort of ability to do that, right?
Yep.
Instead, what does he do? He does the opposite. He says, I don't even want this person to speak, take away his ability to speak. Absolutely nobody can make the decision for themselves to support me or to support him. I need to take that decision away from everybody. He can't be allowed to even talk. And gosh, I totally get how you feel because I'm done with Mark Waid. Like, I got so much stuff from these people, and it's just like, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like I look at everything like that, and there's some things I could do that, right? Like I said, I could separate the art from the artist when it comes to some instances. Some not so much.
There's having a bad opinion, right? Or there's just having an opinion that I just don't agree with, right? Where maybe it's just not bad, but I don't think it's fully formed, right? Mm-hmm. Or just an opinion I think is just batshit crazy, like socialism is good. You say that, I'm going to say, man, you are crazy.
Yeah.
But you can have that opinion, and we can disagree on why it's good, why it's bad, and why you think what I think is bad. I have no problem with that. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I've openly said when I've been wrong.
No, of course, yeah.
But like, it frustrates me because if you do that, that's perfectly fine. But you're not doing that. You're like, I want to remove people's ability to feed themselves.
Yeah.
You're basically, oh my God, you're the biggest fucking fascist I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, it's like with this whole situation. You know, again, you know, if something concrete came out that you know, Vic was these things that they say is like definitive, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Throw him in jail. You know what I mean? I'd be okay with that. You know what I mean? If something came out that he could be prosecuted on, you know, do it. You know what I mean? But that's the whole thing. There's nothing, man. There's nothing that anybody has provided. It's just hearsay. And again, you know, I get it. You know, people are saying, well, you know, it was inappropriate and he made me feel very uncomfortable one time. Okay. That's okay. That's fine. And it's fine if somebody feels that way. But again, there's no crime being committed here. Okay. Sorry that you felt uncomfortable. Sorry that you didn't feel it was appropriate, I guess, you know, but you know, again, there's no crime there. You know what I mean? It's just like, and again, there's nothing to stop anybody from just saying, hey, look, I'm good. I don't like that kind of interaction. I'll shake your hand. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, that's what people should do. And if people are just like, well, you know, I froze in the moment, this and that or the other, it's just like, you know, that, you know, I mean, to that, I would say, look, I get some.
Well, I mean, imagine if you're a fan of Vic, right? You're an occasional fan of Vic. You saw him at a convention. He gave you a hug, and you're like, oh, cool. And then you went to another voice actor. You're like, yeah, man, Vic's a pedo. You know, like, oh my God, what? Like, dude, how did everybody feel watching House of Cards? And then the next day, you read in the news, Kevin Spacey literally had a sex dungeon for little boys. How did that make you feel? Like, you don't want to be associated with these. Like, oh my God, the first episode of House of Cards I saw, I swear I saw it in his face, and I never watched it, and I knew, you know,
exactly.
It reminds me of that. It reminds me of that kind of thing, right? You have people that never thought anything of it until other people came in and said, well, you didn't know that he probably wanted to do something to you too.
Exactly. Well, that's the other thing. In current year, that seems to be the thing. It's just like, it's about getting attention, and what's the fastest way for people to get attention? Well, by being a victim. You know what I'm saying?
And the people who never even. How about the people who never came near Vic? Right? Yep. They still had their own traumatic experiences because somehow Vic came to them in their dreams.
Yeah, well, not just that. You know, people I've seen people say, I saw him do this, like, and I think about that, and I'm just like, I see people say things like, I think I saw somebody say, I saw him grab this girl's, you know, this girl's or this friend or acquaintance of mine's, you know, butt, and you didn't do anything. It's just like, now
no.
At you know what I mean? It's just like,
no, this is the part that I liked is where I know the story you're talking about.
Yeah.
He grabbed my friend's butt, and I stood there. And then I watched it happen, and then we were ready to take the photographs, and I took out my phone. Then he removed his hand. So I'm sitting there going, like, why didn't you just take out your phone from the start, you motherfucker? Why didn't you just, like, you're literally telling me he groped your friend, and then you waited for him to say, okay, get your cameras out, and then you did it, and then he took his hand off her ass, and you didn't say anything at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, man. If there's a friend of mine that I saw that happen to, I would call it. I would bring attention to it right then. Hey! Yeah,
you know, right.
I mean? Like, I would be making.
Well, not even the friend. I've now been to those conventions, and I've seen the lines Vic has. Mm-hmm. You're telling. I literally stood off to the side with other people with my camera right on Vic the entire time, as he was doing his autographs and for everything for like 3 different people, because I was waiting on somebody in line that wanted me to film for them. So I saw his interaction with 3 other people that I'm not even associated with, and he's got other people on the side filming him.
Yeah.
Do not give me the story that you were somehow there, he grabbed a teenager's ass, and everybody just like said, oh, I guess we'll just wait our turn.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody
really?
or nobody brought it. Like, I honestly, man, that'd be the first, like, I would be causing us think about it. I'd be like looking at staff and be like, yo, you need to check this dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there would be, you know what I mean? There would be an incident, man. I would not.
And I have less experience with conventions than you do, obviously. But since starting this, I've had at least a few conversations, right? I've heard the stories of how a voice actor will get blacklisted. They're very open about the reasons why, from what I can understand. They're not very hush-hush about it. If you grope somebody, if you force yourself onto somebody, if you act inappropriately and they make a complaint, the convention wants nothing to do with you if they see it. If their staff is going to them complaining, they don't want to be associated, and they don't want any trouble. They don't want any trouble. They don't want any drama. They want your ass out of there before it becomes a problem for them. But somehow, for years and years and years, Vic Mignogna was exempt from all of this, but everybody else, including people that have accused Vic, have been thrown out of conventions for inappropriate behavior.
Look, you know, if something like that would have ever happened at a convention that I was staff of, right? If I was, you know, especially the one I was staff on, if somebody ever came to me, you know, or if I had ever heard from the, you know, owner or promoter, hey, look, I heard that this person did such and such thing, I'd be like, we need to file a police report. End of story. I mean, that not even, oh man, we better keep this hush hush for the sake of our reputation. No, we need to file a police report. You know what I mean? You need to tell that person they need to file a police report. We need to file a police report. Period. This is not something that we're going to cover.
It is a strong and visceral reaction that most people have when you tell them that a child is being harmed or abused. It is a very strong reaction that most people have. And you're trying to tell me that most people were just okay watching it and just taking like free tickets to conventions and they got to be like up front at a concert and they were just totally okay with this 56-year-old dude diddling their kid.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, look, I'm not, you know,
it's like, I swear these people, like, they don't have, maybe they don't have loving parents. Maybe they don't know what that's like. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just, you obviously don't know what it's like to have someone think about you that way, to be protective of you and not want to see any harm ever come to you. And then they're going to tell me that they sold that all out for fucking convention tickets? Man, go fuck off. Like, I just really, please.
Well, here's the other thing, too, that I think is interesting about these conventions. Oh, we've known for years, but, you know, we kept it hush-hush because of this, that. Let me tell you something, dude. If like I said, my first instinct would be, we need to get this on paper. This needs to be, the police need to be apprised of this. If the police are like, well, we can't do anything unless the person comes forward and the person refuses to come forward, I'm going to the press, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if I can't, oh my god, let's take it to the next step, right? Beyond all of that, right? They take it to the press and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Person comes forward at the convention, right? Says that they knew for years about all of this happening, but they were keeping it hush hush. Man, no. Oh my gosh. If I went to your fucking convention with my child, oh, you will best believe I'd go to an attorney immediately if you're going to make that claim.
Yeah.
You want to tell me that my child went to a convention where you say you openly and knowingly had a person that you knew credibly was assaulting children and you will fly with that? Oh, man, no.
Oh, yeah, that'd be the end right there. And again, like I said, to me, it would be about nipping it in the bud as soon as possible because I'm like, look, we don't need this. You know, covering something up is, to me, it's not the way to do things. You know what I mean? Even if there's an initial hit on our convention just by coming forward, you know, that'll go away. You know what I mean? To me, I would rather just get it out in the open as soon as possible than, you know, try to sweep it under the rug. You know what I mean? And I get for some convention owners, I mean, they might see it differently. They might be afraid, but look, again, you know, you hear a guy like Stan talk about it, and I think Stan is spot on. He's like, hey, do you think if stuff like that were happening, you think I would ever invite these people back? No. You know what I mean? He's like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? He's like, and it's interesting. Use a lot of these same people that are now saying, "Oh, he did these things." They had no problem inviting him back before, though. You know what I mean? And it's
no,
true.
I will never understand how. You get what I mean, right? Like, you can just tell some people, really, they're only in it to just be part of the outrage mob, to be part of that cancel culture, to feel like they accomplished something in their very non-existent lives by taking something from somebody who had more. You can feel that from some people. It's about the fact that Vic is this, not the fact that Vic actually did anything wrong. But, well, because Vic is... How many times have I heard from this weird little weirdo who finally blocked me about how Vic is a Christian homophobe? That because Vic is a Christian, he is clearly homophobic. On and on and on and on and on. Doesn't care about anything else that's going on. You show him the videos of Vic standing up against the anti-gay protesters. Oh, that's an act. Has no comment on any of the other things that the Funimation VAs have done, but is just so certain Vic is a homophobe. And by being a homophobe, he's also very certain of all the other claims. It's stuff like that, man. Like, when I see that, I'm just like, man, you are only in it for that reason. But I will say this, and I'm not calling anyone specifically out. I do know that there are some people that will dismiss other behavior, or will accept other behavior, if they're part of the tribe or if they're not part of the tribe, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to be skeptical of Vic Mignogna. I think that healthy skepticism is appropriate for everybody involved, right?
Yeah.
So when I say, you know, I don't think people are perfect, the stuff with the prostitute, yeah, I mean, for me, dude, man, that sucks. This one-time thing, you haven't done it again. Okay, bygones, I don't know how to say there. You cheated on your girlfriend. I mean, yeah, that speaks to bad moral fiber, but not much else. Given how, I mean, that's like a complaint for so many people these days, because I think we've become very loose and very promiscuous in our society. I think a lot of people cheat on their spouses. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's appropriate. And I think that you should work towards building a better relationship versus cheating.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything, you know, else to me there. Exactly. Right?
And it's not to say that people can't change it. Obviously, it's not something I would agree with either. I'm like, you know, when all that stuff, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? That's a lot of stuff. But again, I think it speaks a lot to Vic that he didn't try to be deceptive about it and be like,
didn't try to hide it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he didn't try to hide it.
He didn't step around it. You know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, man, I got the phone number and I called, but man, I changed my mind at the last minute. He didn't do anything like that. No,
exactly. You know, he owned it. He owned everything, and I think that. And again, that speaks a lot to me, at least. It's honest. It's just like, you know, and of course, and hearing all that stuff, of course, you know, you see he's going to take his licks on it, as he should, you know, to a degree, because again, it's not. You know, I don't condone it. I mean, look, I had a family member that was, you know, a bit of a player back in their younger day, right? Yeah. But once they got married, you know, that all went away. You know, they became completely monogamous. So it's my point with that is that it speaks to the fact that somebody can change. You know what I mean? Somebody can change. Absolutely. You know, somebody can grow and become better. Even these people that are that have accused Vig. I mean, it's possible for them to, you know, for their hearts to change and them to change. You know what I mean? But you know, to me, it says a lot when you're being deceptive and not owning up to certain things. To me, it also shows how cowardly these people are. Like, especially when, you know, when somebody I don't remember. Look, man, own it. You know what I'm saying? You want to act like a tough guy? You want to act like a tough guy? Why don't you be a man and accept responsibility? Because that's one thing that a man does, you know, for sure, is that he accepts responsibility. And the other thing too is
and find one again, just because we've said it once in the video, but I feel it's appropriate to say it a second time. If you threaten the judge in the case, again, if you threaten Judge Chup in any way, you are literally pulling a Ron Toy. Don't do that. That's a bad look. That's bad.
You know, yeah, you know, look, maturity comes with the acceptance of responsibility. And that's another thing, too, that I saw in these depositions. You know what I mean? To me, you know, it speaks volumes to Vic, is the fact that he accepted responsibility. It's just like, this is the difference. You know, you're seeing somebody here that, you know, feel how you feel. People can feel how they feel about the deposition, but he handled the deposition with the utmost maturity. You know what I mean? In my opinion, you know what I mean? By doing that, you know, accepting responsibility for, yeah, you know, those, I did those things. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna front. They happened. You know what I mean? They happen. You know, I've made my mistakes. That's on me. You know, and that's it. You know what I mean? Where you see a guy who obviously knows what he's doing. You know, you see in contrast, you see a guy who obviously knows what he's doing, but is being squirrely, is being deceptive about the way he's answering the questions, is claiming that he doesn't remember saying those things. It's like, come on, man. Come on.
I think these people need to understand that there is definitely some influence that Twitter has. But this stuff it's hitting people that, you know, don't even really watch anime.
Yeah.
They're going to look into these things and they're going to be like, what the hell is going on here? Right? It's you can say whatever you want to about Vic, right? Talk as much crap as you want. You've never produced any evidence. You can keep calling him pedophile. You don't have a victim. You've never gone to the police with anything. You talk about how there's hundreds of women, but not a one will even make a joke complaint to the police about Vic. Yeah. No, I mean a joke. I mean, like, I don't remember the time, the place, the location, but Vic assaulted me. You can't even get a crazy lunatic to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm supposed to, like, sit here and believe that this happened, like, so many times, and it was happening to kids, and the parents knew about it. I mean, look at how many times Michael Jackson, right? Mm-hmm. How many parents did he pay off, right? Yep. You got the other stuff that comes in later, right? But how many parents were legit paid off tons of actual money, and then turned around later and said, hey, this happened, you know, because they jumped onto the bandwagon with everybody else. Yep. And they did it because they wanted more attention and more money. And I hate to say it, but I think some of those people actually got it. I think they knew exactly what happened, right? But you want to tell me that, you know, I can understand in a way someone being so morally corrupt. You know, they got offered like $100,000 to keep their fucking mouth shut, right? Convention tickets, and on top of the fact that they sold out for convention tickets, now they also don't want to come forward and just, who's going to call them out? Honestly, Kick Vic would be championing them. They put them on their shoulder and say, "You let your kid be molested? Yeah, come forward. Just say Vic did it, please." They wouldn't give a shit. You're going to tell me that all these people are just quiet. They're in hiding. They're in fear of Vic Mignogna, who was so powerful and influential in the anime industry. A random person on Twitter who mistook him for another voice actor was able to get his career ended.
Yeah. Exactly. It really makes you think. It's just like, yeah, and that's the fun. That's one of the more interesting aspects about all this, is that, you know, they speak to all this power that you know that he has, that he obviously did not, because you would have thought it would have saved him from it, or at the very least, you know, if he was this person that had so much power, you know, you would think he'd have a lot more wealth, that he'd be able to pay people hush money, right? You know,
no, because I said earlier, you know, parents. I understand that there have been cases like with Weinstein and or Weinstein or whatever, and others, where they legit had so much power and so much money that they were able to manipulate people. Yeah. They were able to convince them to sell out. And it's terrible, right? Vic Mignogna doesn't have that kind of money. No. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Vic. I think he's kind of a well-off guy. No, but, like, I think that if you suddenly took $10,000 out of his bank account, Vic would be like, oh, my God, where's my $10,000? He's not uber wealthy. He's not sitting on tens of millions of dollars, where if a child came forward with their parents, he wouldn't have just a cool $500,000 to just get him to shut up.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
doesn't have that, and he doesn't even have the casting power over these other VAs. Yeah, he doesn't do their hiring. He doesn't cast them. They called him whiny, and they said that he's very demanding. But, like, is he telling you not to hire people, and you're listening to him? No, Chris Sabat's doing the hiring. So what play did Vic Mignogna have at Funimation where he was so influential you had to keep quiet, while also at the same time you weren't keeping quiet because you were engaged in all this background chatter where everybody else was calling him a pedo and saying all these nasty things about him?
Yeah, talking trash about him. Exactly.
He doesn't seem that powerful if you were openly debasing the guy behind his back with others at your company.
And not suffering any consequences because of it. That's another thing too, you would think.
Believe me, if the people who are influential at my company, you got the owner, you got the general sales manager, the dude who runs our entire like parts service and everything, have a lot of influence, right? You got the guys who do a lot of revenue for the store, tons of influence. That's all great, but I'll be very clear. If I, who has a little influence, right, would go out and say, my general sales manager is an X, and he likes to touch little X's. You know, if I made that statement at my job, I'd be fired so fast, it's not even funny. If it got to anybody who heard that, they would throw me out the dealership, because I'll tell you right now, you do not call people pedos behind their back to anybody who works at your job. You don't do that. If the person's that influential, they'll hear about it, and if they're actually doing it, they'll get rid of you.
Yeah.
They'll get rid of you. They're not going to let you sit there poisoning the minds of others and revealing who you are. Bullshit. Yeah, you go fuck yourselves. You cannot make the claim that he's overtly powerful and has all this influence when he doesn't hire people, when he doesn't staff conventions. He's a voice actor, man. He's not even specifically tied to any major company like the other ones are.
Yeah. And to speak to the convention part of it, right? Like, you know, look, when a guest comes to a convention based on the contract, I mean, any convention worth their weight, you know, I mean, will honor the contract to the best of their ability and accommodate to the best of their ability. And if that's something you've agreed beforehand, like if he says, well, I want this and I want an extra panel room so that I can do this, that, or the other, and you do it, this, that, or the other. If that's what you've agreed to, that's what you've agreed to. But that's not to say that even because of that because he's a guest at the show, that you lose complete control of the show. You know what I mean? That you complete. No. You know what I mean? The show is still your show. Although I will say this, I have seen some convention promoters that maybe have been a little bit more intimidated by certain guests because of the management. At the end of the day, look, here's the bottom line. The show is still your show. Mm-hmm. And you still have control over it to a degree. And honestly, if there's any kind of wrongdoing there, again, it's your show. It's going to be your responsibility to make sure that you mitigate things as best as possible. If there's something messed up going on, it's in your best interest to say something. And again, that's where I find it a very, and even the convention promoters that I've known that have been probably a little bit more intimidated by certain guests and stuff like that, they recognize that. They know well enough to know to recognize that and to know not to let that much of the show get away from them, you know, to that point, you know, that they would still do something about it. Maybe there's a convention owner out there that exists like that is a complete doormat that'll allow stuff to happen right under their nose and not do anything about it. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm pretty sure that they do. I've met some that I would probably question and maybe say fit that bill, but at least of the promoters I've known personally, even the ones that are kind of pushovers would probably still do something about it. They would still push back to some degree if there was any kind of wrongdoing. So that's another thing that I have a hard time, you know, believing with the whole, you know, well, they have power, you know, they're guests and they can always threaten not showing up to the show and all this stuff. And, you know what I mean? It's just like that doesn't jive all that
much. I mean, you saw it with Kamehacon. They tried to put their influence over the owner, and to an extent, it worked with what Ron Toya was doing when the owner decided to change his mind they again tried to put pressure on him, and then they exerted that pressure by having their VAs pull out. But at the end of the day, he was in control. He made those decisions. It's his convention, not the voice actors.
Yeah. Yeah, so, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And even though
if the entirety of Funimation, you know, Sean Schemmel, Chris Sabat, Monica Rial, and all the other people, voice of Zeno and whoever else, right? If they're all going to go ahead and pull out of your convention that's specifically about Dragon Ball, right? That's a ton more influence than Vic Mignogna had, and Kamehacon still went down.
Yeah,
Man, you've never once been. I've never once heard anyone been able to explain to me what power Vic Mignogna actually had, other than he's just really popular. I get he's really popular, but if he's not hiring people, what control did he actually have over a single voice actor at any point throughout any interaction with anyone? I've never heard anyone explain to me how he was able to affect their careers in any meaningful way, because Chris Sabat hates Vic Mignogna. So what Vic was going to call Sabat up on his cell phone and say, hey, you know, whatever you do, just don't hire Monica Rial, because I really don't like her. And then Chris Sabat hung up the phone and said, hey, Monica, come work at Funimation. And that's what would happen, right? He's not going to... He would do it to spite Vic. He'd hire all the people that Vic hates just to spite Vic Mignogna. I'm sitting there going like, so what... If you can't define any actual power Vic holds over all of these people, then you need to explain to me, because it's not coercion and it's not pressure. So now you need to explain to me why everybody, in their own words, was okay with all of this. Well, because it's obviously not out of fear.
Think about something that's very telling about, I think it was Monica's deposition, where she talked about, you know, I was in the lead role, but his not saying, you know, that to me speaks volumes right there of how, you know, of how she feels, you know what I'm saying? And
they credited Vic, but I didn't get credited, and I was the main character.
Yeah.
Wow. How insulted do you need to get?
And that's something, again, that's not something that Vic had any control over. You know what I'm saying? They saw value in Vic's name being on there. That's why his name was put on there and hers wasn't. It wasn't because of Vic. You know what I'm saying? And that's where these people, they ascribe it to the... Look, the popular person very rarely, you know, ever has to really, you know, lift the finger and try to, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because there's probably times where the popular person has thrown other people under the bus to get where they're at. Yeah. But in this case, but in some cases, it's not that.
Like,
they just, he didn't. They hustle more because he
didn't do anything to her, and I can feel bad for her in the sense that, you know, she put in way more work on the series than Vic did. Maybe Vic showed up for just a goddamn cameo, and she recorded 26 episodes, and she was there, and Vic shows up for like one. He's in it for fucking 10 minutes, and all of a sudden Vic is his name is accredited to the series, and hers is just completely stripped out. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for you, I do, but at the end of the day, it's because people like Vic more than they like you, and Vic is going to sell more than you sell.
Yeah,
I would think that the smart thing to do there would be to push more to have your name attached so that you could be associated with the guy. Whatever, you know, you want to complain, you want to be angry, well, then you need to be angry with the studio. You can't say, well, get rid of Vic Mignogna. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Cupcake. Somebody else is just going to show up, be really popular, be better than you, get roles that you want to get that you ain't going to get, and they're going to be credited because... Let's be honest, after all of this, the names Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, and I'd say even Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat are super tainted right now. People don't want to associate with them. And if you want to argue, well, the industry loves us. Fine, go to a goddamn convention to see how many people love you. I'm not trying to be a dick here. You damaged your own brand by just acting nasty, not towards Vic, because here's the thing that they forget. Vic was quiet. They can go on and on and on about how everybody was being manipulated in secret by Vic, and he sent out this message, and that's all he had to do. No, Vic was very quiet. It was all of you voice actors who could not shut up, and it was everything that you were saying that damaged your own brand. It was never about Vic. was always it was always you damaging yourself. I mean, go ahead and do a convention and say, hey, would you rather have us get Monica Rial, Jamie Markey, Christoph McDonald, fucking whoever else, right? The voice of Zeno, that girl whose brother is an actual child enthusiast. Get that entire staff and then just throw Sabat on top. Mm-hmm. Do you really want all those people at your convention, or would you rather just have Vic? And who would bring in the most money?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just like at that point, I'd rather get the people in that aren't toxic and willing to talk trash about all of our fans and that constantly bring in all this drama. I'd rather just get Vic. Because what's he going to do? He can't, even if in no way can he even do anything because everyone's eyes are on the guy. He's going to bring in all this money because all of his fans are desperate for him because they can't get him anywhere else. And you're going to bring in all these other people who are going to show up and people are going to be angry and they're going to be upset. I mean, look, when Vic shows up to those conventions, I was at Anime Matsuri. Yeah, you had some little skulkers around trying to take photos, but nobody saw them. It's not like Renfamous actually showed up to ComicCon. Apparently, she just bought tickets she bought tickets to ComicCon, then wants to get her refund on the tickets.
Yeah,
I mean that's not a customer. That's not a customer. That's somebody who's just there for your drama and wanted to feed off of it. Well, that person's not going to support you in the long run. Yeah. What are you going to do? These people don't show up for Monica Rial when she has a convention because at the end of the day, they don't really like her. They like the drama and they like the outrage and they want to feel powerful, and that's what she gave them. But then all of your anime fans who literally just like anime and just want to enjoy anime and want to meet you guys and hug you guys, shake your hand and get autographs, you basically told those people to fuck off because you like the outrage mob more. Well, the outrage mob never sticks around. They move on to the next outrage.
Exactly.
Once this is all gone, you guys don't have anything. Yeah, you can keep working for Funimation, as Funimation has the worst PR possible because of you.
Yep.
But conventions don't want you, and that's where the majority of your money is coming in. You've hurt yourself far more than I think you ever hurt Vic.
They've sympathized themselves as well. Yeah. By doing this, because again they've taken on the role of being what's the word they've drawn a line in the sand, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So they've it's either you're with us or against us, and
if you're against us, you're not a real fan. Is essentially
and things like that, and it's just like, okay, you're talking about there being this division in the fan base, but you have to accept the fact that you've also you've also caused it as well. I mean, you've contributed to it, and that's another thing too that I think is interesting.
I just realized it is a division in the fan base, but it's kind of a division of the fan base because I imagine all the guys that watch the subs like me who have been watching subs for the longest time and maybe never even cared too much about Dragon Ball are watching all this play out just like these guys are fucking crazy. They're like this is why the dubs suck.
No, but it's funny because I saw people after the Funimation leaks were saying like this is why I watch subs and stuff like that, which I thought was funny. And it's just like, because truthfully, look, I've always been more of a subs person too, but there's been times where I have watched dubs, and initially when I first started watching anime was dubbed. I mean,
most of us,
like most people, because again, it's stuff that you see on TV before you even know it's anime, right? For me, it was Robotech. Growing up watching Robotech and watching Voltron and things like that I didn't know was anime. So obviously, I watched dubbed stuff first, adapted stuff first that I didn't know was anime. And then when I finally got into like watching just anime, I wanted to watch just dubbed stuff first. Then I got more into watching sub stuff because of getting tapes that weren't even released here yet. Getting fan subs of stuff. So I had to, in order to watch it, I had to do the subtitle thing. So I got more used to that after a while. But I would go back and forth between the two because there's some dubs that I just do like. I do like the voices of some people doing it in English over some of the Japanese voice actors on some of the different productions. Now, by the time Vic, I'll be completely honest here, by the time Vic did Full Metal Alchemist, I had already seen majority of the series from from way beforehand, before it was even licensed here, because I was following it when it was coming out weekly, getting the fan subs of it. So when it was finally licensed over here, I didn't know about him. I didn't know about him doing the voice. But interestingly, though, I did see the popularity he got because of voicing that character. Like when he really came into prominence in the voice acting space because of that character, I did initially see that, even though I wasn't familiar with his work. I did hear his voice because I did check it out. I'm like, who's, after the fact, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, bro,
I've never been that guy. I'll even watch movies and I won't look up who the actor is. I'll see him later. I'll be like, oh, that was the dude from that other film. I've never gotten the like when they make that LPPF, the public figure thing. I never really understood it, because for me, I would say like most actors are public figures. And I don't even know most of their names, but you see their face, so you might see it and recognize them. Yeah. I'm like, you don't even see Vic. You don't even hear his voice because he changes it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I was a fan of the Full Metal Alchemist dub for the longest time. I cannot watch it sub just because it loses so much for me hearing it in English for the first time.
It's like that for me. Tenchi Muyo, the first thing I ever saw of it was the dub, so I always watched the dub.
Right.
What I remember, seeing first of Tenchi Muyo. So,
I guarantee you. Same thing with Tenchi Muyo. Same thing with Yu Hakusho. Same thing with Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know if he was in Tenchi Muyo, but it's same thing with like our high school host club. There are people that are probably die-hard fans of these animes, right? Got posters up in their rooms, just love the animes. Probably don't have a single clue who Vic Mignogna is, and not even paying attention to any of this.
Yeah. No, I didn't know who he was. I just remember seeing his line at MegaCon, and I was just like, "Whose line is this?" And people were telling me, "Oh, it's Vic Mignogna, the voice actor for Full Metal Alchemist." And I was really surprised. I'm like, "This is a voice actor's line," because you got to understand. I've been to anime conventions. I've been to multi-fandom conventions like MegaCon, which is kind of more of a multifaceted convention. Yeah. Started off really more as a comic book one, but pretty much graduated into kind of being a multi-fan convention pretty early on. I'd been to all sorts of different kind of conventions, and that's a multi-fandom convention. And to see a voice actor get that kind of a line when you got like WWE wrestlers next to him, you know what I'm saying, that are like rock stars, you know what I mean? Not, and he has a line that can compete with theirs or even bigger than some of them. You know,
never underestimate how many weebs there are. We number in the millions, and we are taking over.
That to me legitimately shocked me, because I was just like, wow, he's a voice actor, and he's pulling as big of he's pulling a bigger line than some of these other people combined. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, to me,
well, the FMA was one of the biggest dubs, I think, for
and it's a great series. Back
when it came out, I can't think of any series that was out during that time that has anywhere near the quality of the FMA dub. I just can't. They're way better now. They've gotten so much better with dubbing now. It's a shame that I can't watch the damn dubs anymore. But the FMA was ahead of its time in terms of quality and production.
No, of course. And not only that, it's a great series. So it's just like, it was really a look. There's a role that really brings people into prominence as a voice actor. They have that kind of really kind of breakthrough role. For him, obviously, it was that
Edward Elric.
Edward Elric, and for a guy like Johnny Young Bosch, even though his first foray into voice acting was Trigun. I think the one that really sealed the deal for him, though, was when he did Ichigo in Bleach. That's what really kind of sealed the deal for him as a voice actor.
Really? Because, see, here's the thing. With Bleach, I read the manga a little bit, and I never got through any of the dub. I got through a couple episodes, and then switched over to the torrents for it. So for me, Johnny Young Bosch, I actually only remember him from Trigun. I had no clue who was Ichigo.
Yeah, I mean, and some people do remember from Trigun too. But the thing is, what really kind of took him over the moon really
was the Ichigo.
It's Ichigo. And
well, yeah, that's one of the top three.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that really, solidified his, his cred, I guess you could say, as a voice actor was that role. And he's been in countless other stuff since.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, again, they all have these roles, and I think for people like obviously for Chris Savage, it's going to be Vegeta. I mean, even though he wasn't the first person to voice him, but he's the thing is that
it's the same thing with Sean Schemmel and Goku, right? At this point, Sean Schemmel and Goku are kind of
usually the person that gets to voice that character the longest or is the last person to do it usually gets the. It's like with Ruben and Dante. He wasn't the first person to voice Dante in Devil May Cry, but now he's looked at as like the definitive, like people. They completely associate, Dante.
You don't. If you told me that there was another dude who voiced Dante, I don't believe you.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like people just see Ruben because Ruben now has portrayed that character much longer than anybody else, over a decade at this point. From part 3 on to now. You know what I mean? So now he's looked at not just that, and not just has he voiced him. He's the guy that's physically portrayed Dante as well, because he also did the motion capture work for Dante starting from part 3.
Yeah.
So he's completely he
is that character now, right?
He's completely embodied the character, I guess you could say. So a lot of people will associate that character with him now, but Ruben recognizes that he's put his kind of thumbprint on that character.
Yeah.
Good. But even he will recognize that, this character doesn't belong to me, but I did, contribute something to it. So I'm happy about that, Well,
and that's, I think the way that Ruben treats that is probably the best way of doing it, because to me, if you say Dante, I would think Ruben Langdon as just Dante, right?
Yeah.
But he's mature enough to understand that he didn't create it, that it's something else, that he just added to it, which I think is great. You go to someone like Sean, right? He's so obsessed with nobody demeaning him in any way that he won't even allow for the old voice actors for Goku to even be present around him. He doesn't want them going to conventions where he's going to be at.
Steal his thunder.
Yeah.
And of the character. He does it because he knows it's the thing that he's known for the most. So he doesn't want to share that stage with nobody. And to a degree, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you just voice the character. You know what I mean? You're not.
But these other people were part of that history. Ocean Dub, I get it. I get it. I understand. Ocean Dub's iconic for a lot of reasons. It's pretty silly. It's over the top. You got the over 9,000. People remember it fondly. They don't think it's the best thing out there. They just remember it fondly.
Yeah.
When you are so freaked out by somebody else stealing your thunder that you won't even allow that person anywhere near you, when you go, well, no, I'm Goku. No, sit down, kid. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's like you're LARPing and you're really upset because somebody else chose the exact same guy that you did, but you do it so much better.
Yeah, and when I heard about that, and again, I don't know a lot about Sean Schemmel, but that's not surprising to me. Because the thing is, I've seen it happen with other guests before when it comes to certain shows and things like that, where they and I've said, there's another thing I've said before too. If people think that doesn't actually happen, that a certain guest can't have influence over other guests not showing up, that does happen too. You know what I mean? Because they can, especially if they're more popular. If they're more popular, they are, the better chance that they have of kind of getting their way in that regard. And people can say, well, would that apply to Vic? Yeah, probably. But I've never heard of any instance where he did that, where he said, don't bring so-and-so to the show if I'm here. So, and there's no, and as far as I know, there hasn't been anybody to say otherwise. I mean, the thing that people seem to keep going back to with him is that he's very demanding when it comes to stuff. Okay, well, if he has certain expectations and those are the things that you've agreed to prior to, then fulfill whatever commitment it was that you agreed to. You know what I mean? If it's a thing of, You know what I mean?
I'll put it like this: if he were just being demanding for the sake of being demanding, and then he's producing like low grade shit for everybody, okay, well at that time you really do have a problem on your hand. If he's demanding and each take he's giving you that you're using is top quality and people love it, okay, maybe being demanding's got something to do with it. Maybe he needs you to do those things in order to produce the
thing is
the content the way you want it.
Doing the extra takes just speaks to me more of, I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as being a quality thing and him being more of a perfectionist. You know,
don't get me wrong.
That I get something right, you know what I mean? That I get something good that you can use, or that if you hear something different as the director.
Who is it? Martin Scorsese did like 100-something takes in The Shining with that one. I can't remember, but he did The Shining.
Shelley Duvall. It was with Shelley Duvall. It was the scene, I believe, where he wanted her to cry and scream and stuff. And he did it so many times where she got stressed to the point where she was like,
she actually had a breakdown. It was like 120-something times he had to redo this take.
I think like 120. I think like 127 or something.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't know the specific number. I know something like that within that range. But yeah,
to me, this sounds like he did one take and they said, let's do it over maybe like 3 or 4 times. And they're going, oh man, why are you being so demanding on us?
Yeah, and it's a thing of and the thing is, it was a thing of him just wanting to get it perfect and the perfect emotion conveyed, and he got to a point where there was legitimate anguish, and I guess that's what he wanted from the start. Like, this is what I want. This is exactly what I've been looking for. I want this kind of anguish. This is what I want to come across in this scene. And it's with directors, it could be a pain, and it's not to say that it was the director that was asking Vic to. Obviously they're saying that it was Vic himself, but I guess maybe in Vic's mind it was like, you know what, here, this way you have a bit to work with, so that if you don't think this is good enough, maybe this is better, you know what I mean, for you, for how you want this scene to be, you know what I mean? So to me it's just more, that sounds to me like more of a perfectionist type of thing.
It honestly sounds like a petty complaint about the guy, honestly.
To me, it just comes across as a guy that just really takes it that seriously, that he wants something good. That, to me, I view it as something, I perceive it as, he wants there to be something good that they can use. Mm-hmm. So
if your complaint with the guy is he wants to produce the best content possible for you, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, look, sometimes you do need to do things over and over to get it right. That is a part of it. And with acting, I think that's a huge part of it too. Like, that's just, sometimes you got to do it over and over again until you just nail it and it clicks, right? If your complaint is that he wants to do that, he wants it to click every time, and your other guys are like, man, it's good enough. Okay, like, I'm sitting there going, like, I'm running a business. Which person do I want? The guy who's actually producing the best content he can every time, even if it takes him a little bit longer, or the person's just, chopping up shit and shoving it in my face in like 30 minutes, and then everybody complains and nobody watches.
Yeah.
I've seen very bad dubs, but if your response to me is like, hey, maybe the reason why I know the FMA dub is so damn good and why it's so beloved and why the production quality on it is just so much better, maybe that has something to do with Vic being the main character of it. Maybe it has something to do with him wanting to do extra takes over and over again until it all sounded right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe that's why old dubs are shit, because nobody cared. They were just producing what they could. They didn't, they weren't being perfectionists. They didn't spend, 5 nights maybe working on one scene. I don't know, like being crazy about it, right? Yeah. Not to be disrespectful towards anybody else involved there. It's just, if your complaint is the guy wants to be a perfectionist and give you the best content, I'm looking at his work, and maybe that's why his dubs, like when I watch him, when, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Around that time, it's different. It really is.
And that's that again. If you think about it, he truly came into prominence because of that role, and a lot of people, highly regard his performances in both that and Brotherhood. In Full Metal, in the original Full Metal Alchemist series and Brotherhood, and whatever subsequent added movies came with that. But that again, it helped him come into, and that's another thing too, that again speaks volumes to him as, or to his work ethic. When you see stuff like that, when people are talking about it like that, it's so good, and then you have guys like, that have been in the business for a long time, like Steve Bloom as well, who's a pretty prolific voice actor and one of the more well-known guys in there too, who has done like cartoons and anime as well, and video game work. And again, for Vic to come and reach that level of prominence again, it's not just, it has a lot to do obviously with the quality of the work, but also with the person behind it too. I think when you see people, some of these other people, and they haven't been able to reach that status or really reach another character where they're that much, they're known as well, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to probably question their work ethic a little bit too in that regard, and or maybe they just haven't gotten the role. Look, Monica could end up becoming a very big name if she just got the right role, right? If she got the role that really like just put her over the top. I mean, there's plenty of other women that have established themselves well in that scene. One of them being Tara Strong is a name that
yeah, definitely.
Another one would be Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, I believe her name is, who's been in the game for a long time, and she's like a director now too. These are women that they got it down to a science. You know what I mean? They got their stuff down to a science, and they're known, and they got the roles that put them over the top. I'm not sure if that's gonna, I think a little bit, it all has to do with a little bit of timing, a little bit of how you work and what you put out there as well too. I think it's all that I think is the recipe, because when you see a guy like Vic who goes out there and, just he works, man. He's out there, even at conventions, there's a reason why he's popular. It's not just because he's a man. It's not just because of, he got any kind of preferential treatment or anything like that, because as we see, if that was the case, he probably wouldn't be fired. You know what I mean? He probably would have never gotten fired, but there's more to it than that. There's a lot of ingredients, that are there that make up a good voice actor. And the thing is, when you see some of the recent actions of a lot of these people, you can see like, you all are probably lacking. Y'all are probably lacking, and now you've given people to really put it under. You've given people a chance to really put it under a microscope. So
yeah. I mean, at the end, we always make the Streisand effect joke. The more you don't want people to pay attention to something, the more they're going to, or you actively try to cover it. And like, I mean, whatever, because we've been at it for a little bit. So thank you so much for hanging in with me, John.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All I gotta say on it is just the stuff with outrage culture, cancel culture. I mean, like I put out a tweet and I'm halfway was serious, halfway joking, where I was like, "Hey, hashtag cancel funny. I thought it was 2019. Why you got a guy with a casting couch?" You know? But I mean, like, I don't know, man. I really don't know what happens in the future. It's just like, I have a feeling that if we don't eventually get this whole cancel culture thing handled, I think Vic's case is really unique in the sense of how many people came together, and it's not over yet, right? We need to keep trying to just be honest. Even when I was telling people, if you want to spread cancel culture, just don't. You don't gotta spread lies. Just show people what these people actually say. Show them the recordings. Don't make shit up. You don't have to, because there's just so much there in the open. Yeah. And all they're doing is, like, when you read an A&N article, you're never gonna read any of it. You're just gonna look. Oh, you just keep focused on Vic. Don't pay attention. Just whatever you do, please, we need the money. Just we need the money from Funimation. Just please stop asking us to report on it. It's see, you know what? I'm actually worried. Mr. Kristoff might copyright that because it was such an accurate imitation of him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is what I would leave people with while I understand a lot of people are emotionally invested, there's some people that are financially invested too because of the people that have donated to the GoFundMe or whatever, or maybe they've supported Vic by buying his autograph at a show or whatever, right? So I get it. I get people, emotions being high over stuff that happened, but at the same time, I'd also say, hey, look, at least there's things to definitely take comfort in, and there is some positives that have come out of it, and there might still be more positives even if he loses, even if the case were to get thrown out tomorrow.
We have this entire thing going on with Funimation, and then we still got everything that Vic is still going to be doing. Again, Fantasy Soft Entertainment, they want him. Viz Media clearly has no issues hiring him. There's other work that he can do. Plenty of conventions still want him, just like you said. To anyone who really wants to do something productive and positive right now, I would say there's basically three things you can do. The first would be to chill out, calm down a little bit, take a breath, go outside. I spent the weekend, I went down to the beach with my girlfriend, relaxed, and let all this just kind of settle, and it clears your head. The second thing you can do, drop $1 to the GoFundMe if that's all you can do, because I guarantee you it triggers the hell out of these people far more than anything else when they keep screaming, it is a con, stop listening, we're getting the money. When they continue to screech to holy hell, and then they see $1 still gets donated to the GoFundMe in spite of everything that they are saying, it drives them up the wall batshit crazy. So please, if you can, donate $1 to the GoFundMe.
Yeah, and if they can, and if you can afford to support the GoFundMe, where look, moral support is fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, well wishing prayers, however you feel, you want to support that's
spread positivity. Spread positivity.
Exactly. And even if people are coming at you from the other side, trying to just kind of throw stuff, just let it roll off your back. I mean, it's not that important. It shouldn't be to that point where this consumes people's day-to-day lives. The only people whose day-to-day lives it should be honestly consuming is the lawyers involved and the judge. You know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean? People should not be losing sleep over this. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, I just don't care. I'm just saying in the sense of, look, if you're that to that point where you're that it bothers you that much, again, like you said, take a break, go breathe. And I'm not saying that people don't have a right to feel that way. I'm just saying that, if you're in too deep like that, maybe take a step back and try to look at the positive things that, again, may yet still come out of it, so don't worry, don't focus on just because the truth of the matter is, and Nick said it from day one, look, there was always a possibility that this would go nowhere, that it might get completely thrown out. It's not there yet. I mean, it's definitely not there yet. And look, and even if it gets there, if it were to be tomorrow that it happened where it just gets completely thrown out, look, again, some good has come out of this, and some light has been shed on not only this company, but some of these other people involved that seemingly didn't have the best intentions. So I would say, for people to look at that and, I guess, to a degree, draw your own conclusions. But I think that's also a positive takeaway from all of this, that this is going to be something that I think in the long run, people will look at it and say, look, well, you know what? At least he didn't lay down and die.
Yeah.
He didn't lay down and die. He tried.
Yeah. And I'll see, the nice thing is we're on the same page because you beat me to number 3. I was trying to grift all the kids and scam them out of their hard-earned dollars, and you beat me to number 3. But no, it's just like you said, keep positive, everybody. If everything goes tomorrow and, the lawsuit's over and done with, still stay positive. Remember all the good things that have happened, remember all the good things that will happen, and remember no matter what happens, there's still going to be another thing tomorrow, another thing the day after that. There's going to be more drama. There's going to be another controversy. There's going to be another person targeted. It's going to happen. You can't. Don't get too consumed in it. Just push back. Do it the right way. Be positive. Just, please, guys. I was really upset seeing some of the things people were saying. Some people I've never even heard talk about this are going out there talking about how you need this weird tweet. Turn in your I stand with Vic card if you're not willing to. It's the funniest thing. Constructively criticize a corrupt Dick All judge, and I sat there and I said, "That's not constructive criticism." Yeah. Don't be so angry, guys. Everybody wants to be good. Everybody wants to do right here. I understand it's not fun, but we were told, just like you said, we were told from the start, this is something that could take a very long time. Look at the defendant's attorney. He came out and said, you're looking at something that could take over a year. If the defendants are saying that, and you look at what happened on Friday as a win for them, they're prepared for a long battle. Why aren't we? You gotta stay in it. And if you're upset and you're losing faith, guys, there's other things going on in the world. Go find something to be happy about. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I lost all focus on this for about 6 hours on the launch of Pokemon Masters, where I would just nonstop on my phone playing that game. And I was getting people tweeting at me, and I'm like, fuck you, I don't give a shit what you have to say. I got to level up my Karen. I just got the freaking Houndoom.
Not right now.
Not right now. No, go have fun, guys. There's so much more that you can do. And honestly, if you're in this because you're a hardcore Vic Mignogna fan, right? You're not in it because of any of the other stuff. You originally found out because you're a hardcore Vic Mignogna fan, or you gradually became a much bigger fan of his and you like the message that he tries to spread. Remember, it's about spreading positivity. It's about counter lies with truth. Don't drag into it. I mean, I'm pretty harsh with people on Twitter, so maybe I don't have space to speak here. But at the end of the day, guys, if you don't have something that you can laugh and smile and be happy about, do that first and then come back to the fight.
Yeah, not just that.
You need it. Yeah.
Yeah, not just that. I think people need to also realize, and I'm just going. Just based off what Vic himself has said out there publicly, I don't think that Vic would want people to be upset over the results, regardless of what they are. You know what I mean? I think he like you just said, he would want people to continue to spread positivity, and he would not want people to be upset. He definitely wouldn't want people to do anything rash, for his sake. And I'm sure he wouldn't want people to just let it ruin their day and be down about it. He would probably tell you, hey, look, sometimes don't always win the fight. Just stay positive. That's probably what he would tell people that were feeling dejected and disappointed after Friday. He would probably say, hey, look, sometimes that's just the way these things go. We just gotta keep our head up and keep moving forward. Is probably what he would tell people. So he's a person that seems to be pretty positive and always is about a positive message. So just also consider that, I would say.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us today. John, really, again, I appreciate the perspective because I DM'd you and I told you on how I felt when all that stuff came out Friday. And I was like, man, I'm feeling really down. I need a really moderate kind of just even-handed perspective, and you're the best for that when it comes to talking about Vic Mignogna, because I really 100%. And honestly, please check out John's channel. Although I'm sure that if you've seen his channel, you probably know why it's so good already. Please, anything, if anyone really does feel upset, this has just been a major blow to them, you do want to talk, I mean, feel free to DM me on Twitter, leave a comment here on the video. I'm more than happy to respond to it. If you have questions, if you have concerns, there was a ton of misinformation that hit on Friday, which I think is the reason why this was so bad for people. Because you had somebody who was a member of KickVic was giving out the live tweets, and if you believe the things that were coming out of that person's mouth, I'm very sorry to tell you that it. I know it's shocking, but it was heavily biased and didn't actually give you much information.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen, and even the things that they were saying didn't make much sense because they were going on and on about how Ty was mumbling and couldn't be heard, and then later said, "I hope somebody else is taking notes. He's talking too fast and I can't understand it."
Yeah.
I go, what? You just said you can't hear anything he's saying, and you said it 5 times.
Clearly, no agenda.
Yeah, no agenda. He didn't start off this whole thing by tweeting at Greg through his thread knot. So no agenda at all. But look, it seems like there's just a lot of funky things that happened there. It doesn't seem like it was necessarily great for either side in the way the judge was responding to the evidence that he was presented. You have the whole thing with the LPPF, with Vic. You have just a couple of other weird decisions he's made. And then you look at the Kick Vic side of things and things that they complain about. Well, you went on and on about these affidavits and how they were improperly signed and how it's potential fraud and how Ty's going to be. And the judge goes and says, I don't really care. I'm going to go ahead and admit it into evidence. Well, then it sounds like the judge is doing things that neither party is agreeing to here. But it was worse for Vic, so no, guys, it doesn't work that way. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I was wrong, gonna own up to it. I don't think anybody predicted that the judge was going to say in court, Ron Toye, yes, you interfered with this contract, but I really don't know how to assess damages, so I'm not really going to say that it's something I'm just gonna dismiss it. That's funny. It's actually really funny, right?
Yeah.
So guys, remember, none of this stuff makes sense. We're dealing with the legal system here. Let all this play out. Let it go through the attorneys, like John said. Let them worry about it. Stay positive as things come out. I guarantee you more leaks are going to be coming out. More people are going to be coming forward. There's going to be more stories. There's going to be way more about Funimation. They are in so much of a hot seat now. And just imagine how many people have so much dirt on them that they've probably been saving, waiting for the right moment to just drop. I guarantee you, because it sounds like this click wronged a lot of people. So relax, look forward to the future, be positive, go out and have fun, guys. Like go watch a movie, but if you're gonna watch it, just remember that it was a very problematic film, and you might want to avoid watching the first 10 minutes.
Might as well get to it late.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in again, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.